Okay, so just a little fair warning. This is going to be a recipe that's going to take a little bit longer than normal. I'm starting this actually early in the morning to get it ready. It'll probably take over an hour to make, and I haven't even prepped anything. So I'll figure out the time exactly. I'll put it in the notes. I might even post a link to the recipe. I'm going to modify it a little just because I want to make sure I'm feeding all of us today. But I have these cutest little, look how little these little bread bowls are. I'm going to make French onion soup. And it calls for 3 onions. I went with the Walla Walla Sweets, which I love. A stick of butter. I'm going to have some extra because I am making this just a little bit more than the recipe calls for. A couple cloves of garlic. You need a tablespoon of flour, some thyme that I've picked from my little garden over here, Gruyere cheese, and beef stock. You'll need 4 cups of it. I might actually use a little bit more. And then, like I said, these cute little sourdough bread bowls, little petite ones, so you can hollow it out and cook it in the bowl, or you could even use like a white carafe. Oh, and you're also going to need oil and a cup of white wine, and the recipe also calls for some brandy, but I'm going to just omit that because I just don't have any on hand, but it'll be fine without it. Okay, so the recipe calls for a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to use a little bit more later for drizzling. And I've got a medium-high heat here, and a stick of butter. I'm sorry, half a cup of butter. I'm actually going to put in just a little bit more. And I'm going to melt that down, and then I have sliced up all the onions. I'm supposed to slice them up pretty thin. I'm not the best slicer, but I think those are pretty good. And then once all this melts down, I'm going to toss in the onions and start having them cook down. Okay, so that's all pretty much melted. I'm going to add in the onions. Mix those up. I used 3.5 onions. It calls for 3 onions. So again, like I said, I'm just adding a little bit more of ingredients so I can make enough for 3 people here. I'm going to cover these and let them cook for about 30 minutes. Okay, so 20 minutes in, I'm gonna steam out there. I'll show you what that looks like. The onions are, kind of working on their way to getting caramelized. I kind of stirred them up a little. Got it on medium-low. They're cooking very nicely. I got about 10 more minutes to go. In the meantime, I have sliced up the cheese into very thin slices. And then I've taken the bread here and I've just sliced off the top just a little bit, and then have started to hollow out the bowl. Okay, so I have the bowls made, and I'm going to drizzle some olive oil, a little drizzling, and do a little salt and pepper. Or do cracked pepper. I'm just going to make it easier on myself here. And then take some cheese. Let's see if I have some smaller slices here, and place on the sides of the bowl. And on the top. And I've got the oven set for 425, and I'm going to put these in for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so we're coming up on 30 minutes here. I've turned up the heat. I'm going to try to caramelize these. I like to get them a little bit more brown. There we go. But you don't want to burn them. And I've said this before, cooking onions, oh, makes the house smell so good. I just love that smell. I like to get these a little bit more brown, and then we'll add in, I have the garlic and some flour, and then the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so I let those go a little bit longer. Some of the cheese has melted, but we're gonna be popping that back in the oven after we fill them. So that looks pretty good. And over here, this has been cooking down, and I've just been basically scraping the pan a little. Try not to let it burn, but this is the color. It's looking a lot better now. Definitely want them to get cooked down. Oh my goodness, it smells so good, and I can't wait to get them in the bowls. But we have a few more things we have to do. At this point, I'm going to add in the garlic. Get all that in there. And stir that up for a little bit. And also, at this point, I'm going to put in the wine. It calls for a cup of wine, a cup of white wine. And as I mentioned before, I did a little bit more than a cup, as I'm making this for more than what the recipe calls for. So, and then I'm going to reduce this down a little bit. All right, once that's cooked down, add in the flour. And at this point, this is where you would add in the brandy as well. I'm going to let that cook for about 2 minutes. Okay, so that was 2 minutes on the flour, and actually now is when you would add in the brandy. And the brandy is only a 1 3/4 teaspoon of brandy. So again, I don't have any, I'm not going to add it. But what I am going to do is add in my thyme and 4 cups of beef stock at this point. And again, added just a little bit more because I'm making a little bit more. And at this point, turn it up a little bit, and I'm going to simmer for another 30 minutes. Okay, so after the 30 minutes, I'm going to scoop up some of this and ladle it into the soup bowls. Okay, so I've ladled in the soup into the bowls, and then I'm just going to add some more slices of cheese on top, and then I might actually add a couple more pieces on here, and then I'm going to broil it in the oven for a couple of minutes. Okay, so I know it's 2 minutes perfectly timed in my oven to toast bread. And I wasn't paying attention to the bread, so I burnt it. I was looking at the cheese. I was trying to melt the cheese on the top here, which was a little bit thicker. But anyway, those are out now after I let it go 3 minutes, which maybe I toasted the bread too much. But that's basically it. And it took quite a bit of time, almost hour and 45 minutes, close to 2 hours to make this. So if you are thinking about making it, you know, leave a lot of time, start in the morning, and you should be ready for lunchtime. Okay, and there you go, French onion soup in a bread bowl, and lunch is served.